I'm live. Okay. How's it going, everyone? I hope you're doing great. I'm doing well. Doing well. It was a good week. It was just amazing, an amazing week on a political level, on a crypto level, on a personal level. It was so good. You know what I've been talking to myself about? Like when life gets rough, don't complain. Keep your head down and keep going. I've been like getting myself ready, not for anything in particular. I just see how, things happen and you get through it. And usually what I found is it's the difficult times that you got to go through. And then when you break out on the other side, it's like, oh, I was totally worth it. So why am I saying that? Because we had a great week and it ain't going to be like that forever. Right? We know that. Anybody that's one day old knows that. Waiting for the space to start. I've been looking for a message because maybe there's one person listening. Well, I better jump in there then. Okay. Let me move my mic. Good morning. Good morning. This mic is on. Make sure the volume is up.
What's up, Banana? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Got a brand new coffee maker.
Oh, did you? Like,
yeah.
Is it a drip coffee maker or one of those? What is it?
No, I'm a Keurig guy.
Keurig. That's the.
I like my bad coffee. I'm a bad coffee guy.
You're bad coffee. Do you drink organic?
No, I just drink black bad coffee because when I was younger, I worked at the railroad and that was like the one thing they supplied for us. So I got pretty used to just drinking bad black coffee.
Right. Younger. That's funny, Zed. That's funny. Because I was just getting ready to say that once you get older, you'll start drinking organic. You will. Mark it down.
Yeah. But you know what? Something funny. So my coffee maker broke 2 days ago.
Uh-huh.
And when it broke, it was like midday and I didn't go and get a new coffee maker that day. And that night, I literally the whole entire night was dreaming about how I was going to make coffee tonight. The whole night. Literally, there were nightmares about how I was going to make coffee the next day. Where I emptied my Keurig pod into a paper towel and laid it over a cup and then poured hot water over it. That was my in-dream solution, but my whole night was plagued of it.
That is so funny, man. That is so funny. I learned this from my mother. Been doing it for about a year now. Cowboy coffee. It's just, I used to have like a Mr. Coffee, the drip system. And now I don't have to use any filters. I don't have to do the pot thing. I just grind my beans, put them in my mug, and add water. Of course, I put some honey and cream in there too. But and then the grinds, they settle to the bottom.
Yeah, that would have been another solution for me, pretty much. That one I didn't come up with in my dream though.
A lot of people don't. I don't think they do it that way. It just sounds kind of gross, when you first hear about it. But yeah, man, it was a great week. Like I was just telling everybody on YouTube, like on a political level, on a crypto level, and on a personal level, it was a good week. It was a good week.
Yeah, I always like Saturday Spaces for that reason. It feels like we have a lot more to talk about because there's a good 5 days in between.
Yes. And you were quite busy, I think, today too. This week in your personal business, probably.
I'm slammed at work right now. Yeah.
Okay. And it's winter time. But you're in, I know where you live, so it doesn't really slow down maybe a lot.
Yeah. I'd say it slows down a little bit when we get closer to the holidays, just because everyone gets more focused on the new year and the holidays. But it doesn't really matter that much. It kind of just matters how contracts land, because our contracts are so large. They can land at any time of the year, and if they land, you just have to perform accordingly. And then sometimes they land at the same time because there's delays, and you'll have a nice schedule, but that schedule gets constantly messed up because of unforeseen issues and delays to anything, and then they start landing on top of each other. And
oh boy,
that's the hardest part, I think, is you have to keep a certain amount of manpower on board at all times, but when stuff gets delayed, you have to keep them going. And then when stuff gets tapped like on top of each other, you don't want to just keep bringing in people that you're not going to need a month later, right?
Wow. Yeah. Yes, because you don't want to lay people off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to, and this isn't true for everyone, but you just don't like bringing a lot of random people into your work.
Host Mike, can you guys hear me? Somebody got rugged.
You don't hear me?
I do now.
Oh. Yeah, I hear you. We're the only two speaking.
Yeah. Well, it seems like to me that UFO woke up today. This week, somebody was asking me in a group yesterday, like, what's going on with UFO? And I'm like, I really don't have an explanation for it. It just maybe the market finally discovered the value of this token. Sometimes tokens just pump randomly. You're like, wow, what prompted that? And that's how I felt about the UFO pump this week. I was really happy, but can you put your finger on any one or two things that you think contributed to that?
Yeah, I just think UFO's been flying under the radar for quite a long time now and not really getting the recognition that it deserves. It's pretty much a straight up to the right chart, and it still seems under the radar to me in the grand scheme of things. So, I think it still hasn't even really hit its point of discovery.
Sure. Well, I have been promoting it privately. It's a tough thing because we have two home run projects and we promote them both at the same time. But honestly, we promote them both. But honestly, pTGC always gets the bigger share of the promotion pie.
It has more holders, so that makes sense, right? There's more people to talk about it. People tend to talk about the bags that they hold. And due to the holders being larger of pTGC, I think that in turn makes people talk about it a little more. I think people are up more on pTGC. Obviously, look at the market caps, and that gets people a little bit more active too. You know what I mean? If they're up a 10x on their bag with pTGC, they're obviously working a little bit harder for that possibly. If they're, let's say, up 3x on UFO, they're probably still working for it, but the attention's on the thing that their portfolio is larger in, I would say.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean it won't get there. I think it will. I think it's actually chugging up against even pTGC, but more importantly against PulseChain in general. And as it keeps chugging up, obviously portfolios will grow, which will make people start to really pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you've had some data on like the APY of just holding UFO,
yeah,
and it's last week it was mind blowing. Is it still at crazy APYs for just holding, or is it decreasing at all, or how's that looking?
Oh, you mean, okay, I think I know what you're referring to. Let me go to the tracker real quick, and I think you were talking about the APY for holding pTGC versus UFO.
Yeah, I wasn't even looking at like the verses. I was
Okay.
just, in general, I was always impressed with what UFO was producing for just holding it, right?
Okay, yeah, I've got it right in front of me. So give me a second here, because I've been working on, I renovated these sheets, and I haven't really said anything in the chat, but they are renovated if you guys want to see it. So I was working on this morning, actually, and for the past 6 days, just for holding pTGC, the average APY, it's tough.
And this is pTGC
No,
or UFO?
This is UFO.
Okay, yeah, you just said pTGC. That's why I was.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was repeating it back to you to make
Thank
sure
you.
we're on the right track. Yeah, so UFO.
Yeah, average 4.2% APY for holding.
Just for holding.
Yeah, and
okay,
for LPing, same time frame. Make sure we get that. Average is 6.5%.
Okay.
Average. Now, November 6th, which was election, the day after the elections, give me a second. November 6th, the day after the elections, the holding APY was 7.8%. The LP APY was 13.7%. So we have a combined average of 21.5% that day, which you can't have a combined average with
yeah, you can't combine it.
Yeah. I got to delete that column. We're working on my spreadsheet. Yeah, I'll fix it right now, actually. Get carried away with the numbers, and not make a mistake. But yeah, I mean, it was a good week in that respect. I mean, I started to see in my portfolio, especially in relation to UFO, I started to see some light. Like, I got really excited about some of the returns I was seeing, especially in light of what I think might happen during the bull run. When things are really hot, I think it's gonna be impressive. Like I said, I've been promoting UFO quite a bit privately. Which is not to say I don't promote pTGC. We kind of assume that when people find pTGC, they'll find UFO.
Yeah, I think it comes in steps, is what I've noticed. A lot of people will come to pTGC and get into pTGC, and then once they start surrounding themselves with the community and the ecosystem, they stumble across UFO too, and then realize that they have a ton of the same mechanics in them. Obviously, the mechanics are what's pushing it up against the blockchain itself. So in turn, if you like pTGC, you pretty much have to like UFO too.
Yes. One of my favorite metrics is obviously holders added. And in the last 5 days, we've averaged 18 a day. And I think the average for UFO has been about 9. So we've averaged 18, but the ratio is what I get most excited about. And we have been positively moving against Pulse, better than 2 out of every 3 days for the past couple of weeks. And that's wonderful. It's doing the same thing that pTGC did, moving against the Pulse network. And I posted about this earlier this week on Twitter, but something really hit home with me. I got it from Cryptographics. The stream that Cryptographics and Crypto Kindness did. I think it was this week.
I missed that one. I was out in meetings all day that day.
All you got to do is listen to the first 20 minutes or maybe up to 25 minutes. They talk about UFO and pTGC the whole time. And it's so exciting. And what I picked up that I knew, that I do know, but it was just emphasized to me, is that Pulse has been going sideways for a year. pTGC has been going up in dollar value for a year. It has been going up against the Pulse chain token, Pulse, for a year. The whole time that Pulse has been going sideways, pTGC has been going up. So what's going to happen when PulseChain starts moving? We can only speculate that pTGC is going to move much more. And that was a big takeaway for me this week. Sometimes I don't know if you're like me, but you kind of learn things on levels. Like you understand something, and then like 3 weeks later, like you like really get it,
I think that comes with explaining it in different ways. You can explain a single idea in 10 different ways, and one of those ways will really hit home with certain people, and it will really open up their mind to the idea. And another way you explain it might not hit home with them at all, even though it's the same topic and the same idea. They just need it explained in a certain way.
Yes.
Some are really visual. That's why pictures and videos are good too, but some people aren't visual at all. And then sometimes you have to relate it to a real world scenario for people to really understand it. Some people don't like real world scenarios. So I think you kind of have to do it in all the different ways, try to hit all the different people. But yeah, I agree 100%. This goes back to what happened, I think 10 months ago now. It's been 10 months since PulseChain went up 4x, which is kind of funny. But when PulseChain went up 4x, we went up 40x. And obviously past performance isn't a guarantee of the future, but we can study it, right?
Yes.
And yes, when PulseChain does go up, it turns our machine into overdrive. And obviously in that scenario, we went up 10x what the blockchain did, which made it to where our ecosystem did a 40x when the blockchain did a 4x. On that topic, there was actually, I was kind of reading through the Telegram. I think it was happening last night or this morning. Someone was talking about once PulseChain, they came to pTGC because they wanted to make gains in APY in the bear market, and they've done that beautifully by being in pTGC and UFO. But he was saying when PulseChain wakes back up, he's going to move some of the money back over to PulseChain. And one of our community members said, like, well, what's your reasoning behind that?
Yeah, really.
Because when PulseChain wakes up, we get any of the excess PulseChain does due to tied liquidity and how ratios work. If PulseChain equals $1, pTGC would get dragged up those same amount of excess. You know what I mean? Because everything's tied in ratios.
Right.
And then he was saying, not only that, but if we get dragged up by PulseChain, our machine just starts working even stronger and stronger. So you, in turn, get more APY just for holding. You don't get APY for holding PulseChain. You have to do something with that PulseChain to get the APY. With our ecosystem, you can just hold it. And our ecosystem is hyper deflationary. So there's less and less supply with every single transaction, making it so it's holding up your price. So they're just kind of asking, like, what's your reasoning behind that? Because your reasoning for getting into pTGC and UFO was good. I want to make gains while PLS sits flat. But if we're making gains while PLS sits flat, you instantly would think, okay, well, when PLS starts to move, we should continue to equal more gains.
Yes.
Especially if you study the past performance. And I think when they explained it to that person, it really clicked for him.
There you go.
To where it kind of even changed his strategy. It's like, oh, wow, like that makes perfect sense. Anything that PulseChain does, we already get the X's of that. So by transferring over to PulseChain, you're actually cutting yourself off from the X's that pTGC is doing.
You mean transferring to Ethereum?
Well, I mean, like, if you separate yourself from pTGC, let's say you move back over to just PulseChain.
Oh, okay.
You get the X's of PulseChain, but you are withholding pTGC. You were already getting those X's. So what you're kind of cutting yourself out from is the X multiplier.
Yes.
You don't get any of the multiplication of what we do on top of it, and you don't get the APY as well.
Right. Yeah, I thought you were talking about somebody was, I think you said that they were planning to move off of PulseChain over to Ethereum. And here's how I would explain it. Like, why would you move from a network that hasn't had its first run yet over to a network that is already massively successful? You know, I have done nothing but I bridge funds, but I only bring stuff over from Ethereum to PulseChain. I have not gone the other direction because, in my opinion, that would be the wrong direction. Because PulseChain hasn't had its massive success yet. I want as much economic energy over here as I can get.
Oh, 100%. I'm in that same boat. I know other people aren't, but I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I've got stuff over on other chains. I just leave it there. You know?
Yeah, I really don't even have much on other chains anymore. At one point in this bear market, when Pulse was low, I kind of looked at everything I had and consolidated to what I really believed in. And what I really believe in is the RH ecosystem and pTGC and UFO.
Yeah. I learned a good trick a while ago. Whenever we have a massive pump like we did on Wednesday, have a look at your portfolio, and anything that's not green, you should consider dumping. Thankfully, pTGC and UFO are green. We knew it was going to happen, but yeah, that's a pretty good principle.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to that, you know, everyone likes to say the rising tide lifts all ships. And that is pretty remotely true, but a lot of people don't realize most of these ships have leaks and holes, and those ships do sink. It doesn't matter if the tide is rising or all these ships are rising if you're on a ship with holes, because that ship's going to the bottom of the ocean, and you will not be rising with all tides. So the best thing you can do is kind of look at your portfolio, figure out which one of these ships are dead tokens. You know, most tokens do turn into dead tokens. 99% of them do. Yeah. I'm sure there's lingering ones. And get your goods on the ships that you actually believe are going to rise with all tides, because it will not be all of them.
Right. Yep, that is true. Who else?
But if you want, we can go through the Twitter of this week. I do want to also go over a stats page that's a beta that Kong started for us. It's not at all a finished product. This is what he said. This isn't coming from me. But I do think it's a product that's worth looking at, and I would love to keep going over it every stream if we could. Just make it part of the routine.
How about we do that first?
Okay.
Okay, I'm pasting it into my browser. Yeah, thanks to Kong for creating this. And he's an animal when it comes to spreadsheets and data. And we need that type of animals, man, for clarity.
Yeah, and as he said, this is just one step of it. So I'm already so excited for it. I think it's awesome to look at. And then he says he's going to be continuously adding to it too. So I think in the next few months, this could really become a really awesome stats tool for our ecosystem. Just really thankful that he's been working on it. It means a lot to me.
Yeah. He's such a nerd. he wouldn't get mad if I called him that. And I say that in good fun. He is such a nerd. But there's such value in the work that he does. So I love it, man. Because the work that I do in these spreadsheets is all manual, and what he has built right here is automatic. And it looks like it's pulling data about every 30 seconds or so. But are you perhaps watching on YouTube?
I'm not, but
okay. I'll try to narrate for.
You can just go through it, and I'm listening.
Sure.
I kind of know it already.
I glanced at it for the first time last night, and I haven't even bookmarked it yet, but I have it pulled up. So the first, let me see how many tabs are there. How many sections? 1, 2, 4. There are 4 groups. The first one is pTGC token analytics, and he has data from the burn address, the current balance in pTGC that has been burned with the dollar amount, and then he goes back and gives the
for the listeners here on Twitter, could you say what that dollar amount is?
Oh, sure. And by the way, this is liveburns.vercel.app. It's in the Telegram chat. liveburns.vercel.app. And the total amount of pTGC burned is 37. Sorry, I have a hiccup here. 37. That would be $1,807,000,000. A total of $6,700,000 worth of pTGC has been burned. That's impressive. And then he breaks the balance changes down by 15 minutes, 1 hour, 6 hours, 12 hours, and 24 hours, which is really cool. And then he gets into the next section of 4 is, now it's just refreshing, is you see the price, the current price, it's up 4.29% right now. 24-hour volume, $77,000. Liquidity, $4.1 million. Trading activity, 592. He breaks it down by buys and sells. The native price against Pulse, 3.4. And pooled tokens, 11.4 million. And then pTGC volume allocation. Let's see. That would be, you might have to help me with this. We have a burn amount of $386, liquidity $386, a DAO $1,547, holder reflections $773, and staker reflections $773.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's the breakdown in the last 24 hours. Out of the 5% that
yes.
pTGC, the fee on all transactions,
yep.
That's in dollar form where that all went and how much.
Oh, that's cool.
So you don't have to run the numbers by hand. It just does it for you as the 24-hour volume changes.
Oh, that's great.
Automatically shows you where that volume is headed, or that value is headed, that our ecosystem is gaining.
I love that. Wow. That's awesome. And I think this would be the third section, UFO. Same thing as pTGC, that first section where it talks about where he shows the burn. He shows the total UFO in the burn address, 68.1 billion, total of $993,000. And then the amount that has been burned, 15 minutes, 1 hour, 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. And hopefully he does the same breakdown. Oh, he does. Last section would be UFO price, current price up 0.11%. 24-hour volume 79.8 thousand. Liquidity 7.4 million. Trading activity 335. Broken down again by buys and sells. Native price, which is the price against Pulse, is 0.2. I'm going to call that 0.28 because I like that. Pooled tokens 2.043 billion. And then where he calls it the UFO volume allocation for 24 hours. And I like that term. So it's where did the fees go? The 6% tax. Well, 3% went to LP providers as rewards, and that totaled $2,395. $798 went to the buy and burn, buying and burning UFO. 1% went to holder rewards, which was $798, and 1% went to buy and burn pTGC, $798. And that's it. That's liveburns.vercel.app. It's beautiful. I love it. It's so simple. You have any comments about this?
Not at all. I love it. I'm super excited what it turns out to be here in the future, because I think he's just going to keep adding to it, and it's probably going to just keep ever improving and becoming just an awesome tool for our community. I'm just really excited for it.
Yes. Okay. Snowflake Society says, wow, look at LP provider rewards on UFO. That is a good point. 3% being $2,400. That would just be the 798 times 3. But yeah, I like that. The beauty of UFO is you can LP your RH tickers with UFO. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's good for both types. Like, right? Some people do really like providing LP and like going that extra step, and some people don't like it at all. Some people just like holding their tokens because they don't want to occur in permanent loss.
Yep.
So what's cool about that system is it kind of fits either person, right?
Yes.
And either person can take advantage of the system. I love that the holders of UFO, when they obviously buy into UFO, that value that they put in when purchasing the UFO tokens is now put into work, because that PLS, if they came in with PLS, now gets injected into the web, and that value is now working for the system. But then if a holder goes a step further and then adds LP into the system, they're kind of working for the system twice. And now they have more LP, and that's putting their value to work for them. And there's no other real token there are other tokens, but there isn't a lot of tokens that actually have the value in the system working for the token and the holders. Most tokens, the LP pool, is in turns like just money under the mattress. That value is not earning you any more value whatsoever. It's just sitting there waiting for you to need it, or for one of the other people to need it to cash out or enter into. But that value is not working for the people. But with our unique system, all the value in our system is actually working day in and day out. And everyone knows, like, once you make a decent amount of money, the idea is, how can I have this money work for me instead of me working for money? Because if you can have your value work for you, now you don't have to trade your time for money. You just have your value earn you money instead. And now you can get your time back. And I think that's why a lot of us are here, is to get our time back so we can spend time with our family and friends and have our value that we make here in crypto work for us.
Absolutely. I'll make a point about UFO in that we kind of recommend, we're not making financial advice, but like if I was going to get myself a bag of UFO and do something with it, I would either just hold it or I would LP it. And that's what I have done with my UFO. I have some in LP positions and I'm holding the rest of it. The advantage of holding some in LP is that you participate in those 3% rewards that go to LP providers. The advantage of simply holding is that everybody that's LPing their UFO are not earning the reflections. So you earn more reflections that way. And actually, I have found this. I don't have the data right at my fingertips to back up this claim, but I have seen that UFO earns more reflections than pTGC. That might be a little controversial, but I was like, wow, this little token here is really earning some reflections.
Yeah, it's kind of comparing apples to oranges, though, and that's what I want a lot of people to understand, because with pTGC, you can take it a step further and single-sided stake with no time locks.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, I do think that APYs come out, you would know better than me, because you have all these spreadsheets, and obviously the APYs vary every single day, even on each token. Like one day UFO will have more volume, and then the other day pTGC. So every day is different. So you can't like just say like, "Ooh, this one's paying better, this one's paying better," because they change every single day. You can look at a different day and it'll have a different result.
Yeah,
but with
true.
pTGC, you can go a step further to earn an additional 1%, where UFO you can't. You have, if you want to tap into a different route, you have to go the LPing per route. And that's why I like say it's like, sometimes you can't compare an apple to an orange. They have similarities. They're both fruit. You know what I mean? They both are tokens that have a legit utility that takes the value that's in the system and has it work for the token and the community and pays them out accordingly. Like, yes, those are very similar attributes that are different than everything else in crypto. But then they also have a few differences that you always need to recognize. And, that's why they're both here.
That is a fair point. Well, shall we already reviewed the UFO statistics. Shall we review pTGC and then move on to Twitter?
Yeah.
Actually, I got a question too from a viewer. Zeke S says, we started to see the machine of UFO tapping into its liquidity web machine, but can the price do 1,000x when the liquidity will be much bigger?
I've gotten this question a few times already. People tend to think that if you have too much liquidity, it becomes harder to do X's. And this is a very, very true statement, right? The more liquidity you have, the more money you need injected in to do the X's. And what people are comparing it to is, and not every token is this, but I'm going to use the term a shitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
A token that has very little liquidity will pump very, very easily. This is true, but the problem is there isn't actually any real value supporting those X's. There is a chance that one person does get all those X's, but that's just one person. And let's say the token has 1,000 holders. So you only have enough liquidity in the system to back one person. And everything in this world is fractionalized. Like even the amount of money the bank has is fractionalized. Like everything, the US dollar is technically fractionalized. Like tons of things are fractionalized. Crypto is obviously really known for being fractionalized. But the goal is to not be too fractionalized to where it's detrimental to the product, right? We want the liquidity there so there's enough liquidity working for the system and there to back our price. Because if you don't have it there to back the price, your price is actually becomes more of a phony number, in my opinion. I don't think, like, we can't say this will do this amount of X's, but what we can say is we have a lot of systems put in place to do X's. Like, there's been a lot of thought into how to get this product to do a lot of X's. not by just human purchases. And this is a step that no one really takes. Like in crypto, people who launch tokens, their idea is, I'm going to try to get people into this product to do a bunch of X's. But we took this step further. Obviously, we want to encourage holders to come in and help in the mission of creating this store of value product that continues to go up against the blockchain. Like we're growing the community, but we took it a step further to say, okay, well, what X's can we do without people? What can we do just on machines? Because we know where businesses and technology is headed. They're all machine-based. They're AI-based. So what can we put into this token to do the same thing? Well, that's where the liquidity web comes in, and the fact that we built on a highly undervalued blockchain. With the liquidity web, we have as the liquidity grows, now we have more value working for our holders and doing buy and burns to our system. So that's pressure pushing upwards that wouldn't be here normally. Like if that liquidity wasn't here, we wouldn't have those buy and burns happening. We wouldn't have, with a buy and burn, what's interesting about a buy and burn is when you have a supply and demand curve, like supply and demand obviously is one of the things that creates price. So when there's demand, that creates price going higher. When supply goes down, that creates price going higher. When supply goes up and demand goes down, that creates price going lower. And it kind of operates on a curve, and there's a point that's the price. With a buy and burn, it taps into both supply and demand in one transaction. So with a buy and burn, you are adding demand because you are buying the tokens, and you're decreasing supply because then you're burning them. So what you're doing on like one of the oldest things in economics, really, supply and demand, and there's a curve and a chart to show this, is you're forcing the price upwards. So we literally have something written in our code that is programmed to give us X's. So for one, like that's one thing a lot of other people haven't taken a step further to do, is our liquidity that's in our system isn't just there for letting people exit in and out with not a lot of slippage. That value is actually working for our system, doing buy and burns, which is, again, forcing the price upwards. But another unique system that we have here is that we built on an undervalued blockchain. So what you have to then ask yourself, how many X's do you really think PulseChain is going to do? Like, I don't have control over this. Our whole community has part in this. The whole PulseChain community, as far as onboarding, and then also there's other features that have abilities to affect PulseChain's price. I think RH has a little bit of this ability. The court case has this ability. If PDI's pegging is a legitimate thing, that has the ability to create a bunch of X's. But for an example, if PulseChain does a 100X and we remain ratio with PulseChain, well, then we do a 100X. We don't need any buys on our chart to do that. But let's say the things we just talked about, the LP that we have working for us, doing buy and burns, decreasing supply and adding demand with every single transaction. Let's say that gives us a 10X over PulseChain. Well, now with PulseChain doing 100X and us doing a 10X over it, that equals an 1,000X. And that 1,000X isn't done due to lack of liquidity like most people need. Our 1,000X is done by mechanics and math behind the protocol doing so. So when we do that 1,000X, in the example I just gave, that would be roughly a 500X of liquidity. If you multiply our current liquidity, which is around 11 mil, with real assets, these aren't like phony pairs that don't even mean anything. These are real products that have real liquidity exits, not dead ends. So 11 mil times 500X, that's $5.5 billion in liquidity. So what I'm telling you is we actually have ran a map of how we can get there. And when we get to this point, our ecosystem would have $5.5 billion in liquidity. The interesting thing about that to me is it's not $5.5 billion in liquidity just sitting there for people to exit into or people to enter into, money under the mattress, as we were talking about earlier. This value is actually working for our community. It's what's paying the APY, and it's what's driving the price up with every transaction. So now instead of $11 million working for us, we'll have 5.5. And then if we do that math, just what we're showing on our spreadsheets, like how much buy-in burns will we be having on a daily basis with that much liquidity? And I can't guarantee that we're going to end up there. I'm just saying that we've actually mathematically planned out a way to get there. And it's not dependent on humans buying. Now, what I say is, since we mathematically planned it out and put a machine to get us there, what does that do? That does attract human buys.
Yeah.
This whole equation that we just talked about has nothing to do with people realizing really what this thing is. Like a store of value on one of the most decentralized blockchains in the world. Like, I personally think people will start to recognize that there's a huge liquidity pool that's burned, and this has tokenomics that keep rising the price, and it's paying APY for just holding. Like, this is what everyone's been looking for. So what are they going to do if they make money in other places, or if they're just bringing money to blockchain for self-custody because they want to make X's and APY? Where are they going to land with possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars? Because where else are you going to make all those features? Like, you can make X's and APY technically with like the housing market. The X's are really minimal and slow. Like, you can hold for 10 years and maybe get a 2X, where, you know, what that person just brought up was 1,000X. So you're never going to be able to compare the X's in the real world. That's guaranteed. But now let's talk about the APY. The APY is paid out with zero overhead. You don't have maintenance to a building that, you know, your tenant breaks this and you have to fix it. You don't have to worry about collecting that rent check and them not having the funds because they lost their job. The code pays you out no matter what. And the APY that's paid out is actually backed by real value, because it would never get paid out to you by the system if it was never generated, just like any business. So if you're the owner of the business and you don't make any money that month, technically, if you had a reserve, you could still pay yourself the check. But let's just say you're a sole proprietor and you live paycheck to paycheck. You don't make any money that month. Your business didn't generate any revenue. So the problem is a lot of APY generating things are paying you out in inflation. And if the machine doesn't generate the value, what they're paying you out is in the inflation that in turn takes that money from the price chart. And then that adds a decrease to the price chart, which then in turn hurts you anyways. So you ended up with more tokens in your wallet, but the price decreased it, so it didn't really give you a net positive. But where our system is different is you don't get paid out the APY unless the system in play actually gains value. And you can see, you know, obviously if you still have that spreadsheet pulled up that CryptoKong made, you know, that's the real value that's getting pulled into our system with every single transaction.
Mm-hmm. While you're talking,
I don't know if that answered it enough. You know, 1,000X from this point obviously isn't like a snap of the finger thing. It's something that does take time, and we're working towards that goal. Obviously, the difference between us and other things is we actually have a plan to get there without just telling people we need all human buyers to get there. We have a lot of things working in our favor compared to other protocols.
We sure do. While you were chatting, I was doing some calculating on that sheet that I built to demonstrate what pTGC could do when Pulse moves. And I put in, because you started the conversation with what would happen with if Pulse does a 100x. And I'm like, ooh, okay, I could figure this out. Just pop this into the sheet. If Pulse did a 100x over a 9-month span, and PTGC moved just a 1x against Pulse,
That would be a 2x.
Okay.
Because a 1x equals nothing because it's 1 times.
There you go.
But a 2x, yeah.
Yeah. And let's see. Then that would be, so the PTGC start price would be today's price, obviously. And the end price would be 0.154. The average move per day would be 2.55%. So that'd be a 15-cent PTGC. That would change everybody's life. That anybody that holds PTGC right now, it would change their life. Practically. I mean, practically everybody. Let's see what other comments we got. Tails says, the best thing too, PTGC already has some history and has already been compounding over time, even in terms of growing community. That's true. I heard somebody in another group comment the other day. They're like, wow, there are only 2,000 members in the PTGC Telegram. And yeah, we only have like 8,000 wallets. It's a opportunity over here. It really is.
Yeah, the honest truth is it's still a micro cap in the comparison of things. So when you our chart looks so up and to the right that some people feel like that means they're late, but that just means the machine is working as we've been telling people for the last year, right? If the chart was down, yeah, that's an opportunity because the chart is down. But then that technically means the machine isn't operating as we've designed it to, which is a little worrisome as well. Or large holders are taking way too many profits and they don't believe in the system actually. So the fact that our chart is up and to the right should be like
we lost you, Hayden.
I can hear you.
I hear you, Coach.
Oh my gosh. I'll be back.
Okay. It's just a thing. A Twitter thing. Can anybody hear me on Twitter? All right. We'll just chill. And you guys can see my screen. I don't know if you guys on YouTube can see my screen. But I took the average percent over 12 months, converted it to X's. And that's an average of, we'll call it 20X. Thank you, Tails. That'd be a 20X. If PTGC did 20X, which really isn't. Can you guys hear me on Twitter?
Now can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. You hear me?
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay.
I don't think Banana can hear you.
I think I heard TG Zen. I might need to drop out. I'll drop out and come back in. Switch to listening. Boom. Now.
And
there we go.
I might need to drop out.
Banana, I think the problem is with you.
Yeah, I think he's already done it.
Okay.
Banana, can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're all good now.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget. Have a fresh conversation unless you remember what I was talking about.
I don't. We were talking about PTGC doing a number of X's, though. I remember that. And during the pause, I'll just say this. During the pause, I figured out the average percent that pTGC has done over 12 months, which was 18,000%. Converted that to X's, which is 180X. I mean, and you made the point before that it would be very difficult for pTGC to do that an identical move over a 12-month period. But if it did, that would be a 20. I think that'd be a 20-cent pTGC at the end of that run. Anyhow.
Yeah, the
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Somebody's getting rugged. I'm going to drop out, switch to listening, start listening, come back in. Can you guys hear me? You're right, Tail. Yeah, you can hear me. I know you guys can because I got a mic here, but oh. I don't hear anything on Twitter. You're late, Grandpa. Oh, thank you, Tails. Thanks, Ovidian. Oh, let me check on messages here. This might be... No. Sorry, not right now. Just can't hear that. I'll drop all the way out. Okay. Thanks, Shaka. Let me see if I can do that. Leave. And then come back. Okay. Thank you, Shaka. Appreciate that.
So that value can go 100% back to the community as far as APY and to the token, buy and burns, LP ads, etc. So we can constantly keep growing. The closest example I know of this is PulseX itself, because pretty much with every fee, a portion of that goes to the buy and burn, which is increasing the token's price. So RH obviously understood this and thought this was a pretty good business model to copy and to use to make the token price go up. Obviously, RH is a super, super intelligent guy, and the design of both these protocols have been mimicked completely off of a lot of his teachings. And it's nice to see that in real time it's working really well, and it's still just the beginning. Banana, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I dropped all the way out and came back in, and that seems to have worked.
Yeah, I can't drop down, so if it ever goes quiet again, just do that same thing and just drop all the way out and come back.
Okay, now that I see how easy it is, definitely do that.
But we do have Coach and Shaka. Do you, Coach or Shaka, want to add to that at all?
I guess I'll touch a little bit on the LP question that came up earlier, because it seems to be coming up more and more about the concern that there's so much LP that it's hard for the token to pump. And I just find that a bit interesting, because the reality of 99% of cryptos failing is because they don't have the liquidity. Just because something pumps, often, use real estate as an example. If you have a building and the building's going up in value and you're able to buy it really cheap, that's all great as long as there's liquidity to sell that building into at a certain point in time. If that building is in the middle of nowhere, regardless of how fancy the building is, what amenities the building has, what the fixtures are, if you can't sell it, it's worthless. So with these two tokens constantly rising with liquidity, there's not a better option in crypto. You want the liquidity. You don't want the crazy instant X's that only a couple people are going to be able to be lucky enough to get out of. And the reality is, the luck's not going to be on your side. That's just the way it is. We look at some of these meme coins that pumped really hard on PulseChain or Solana or etc. There was no liquidity. So on paper, people had millions of dollars of this meme coin, but they were all sharing $500,000 worth of liquidity. So regardless of how your spreadsheet makes you feel, because you look at it in the morning and you're like, wow, I'm a millionaire, or wow, I have $300,000-$500,000. The reality is, what can you sell that into and when? So there really should not be a concern ever about being too much liquidity. That's never a concern. The more liquidity and the more real liquidity, the better. You don't want to be sharing all the sellers all the buyers when it's time for you to sell. It's just not a good situation. You got to look at this realistically and not just the feel-good paper numbers. That, pick a handful of other tokens, even on PulseChain still today, popular ones. I won't use some names. But there's some with $4 or $5 million market cap. And there's $30,000 of liquidity. When I was looking at yesterday, that's being talked about a lot. There's $30,000 there. But yet there's $5 million in market cap. So even if you hold all the side, your spreadsheet makes you really happy because it's worth $5 million, it's not. It's worth half of the $30,000. Because keep in mind, half of that LP is the other side. So I would just my advice, not be so worried about too much LP affecting how much a price can go up. And looking at too much LP as something you want to be a part of.
That's good, Chuck. Thanks for sharing that. Well, let's go over Twitter. Let's review Twitter. What do you say?
Yeah, that sounds good. I did want to point out that real quick before we move on off this LP thing is for pTGC, for an example, to do a 4x from near, it only needs half of what its liquidity is injected into it. So currently, the liquidity of pTGC is around 4 million. So with $2 million injected into pTGC, that's a 4x. Obviously, if PulseChain, let's say, does a 10x, that would be a 40x. And you can start really spanning out the money, that way. But in crypto, an injection of 2 million is not that much.
Yeah.
And I think it's just important to realize that having projects with actual liquidity there brings sustainability and longevity and legitimacy. And like Shock was saying, it does probably feel good to get that 10x overnight, but usually those projects die. The things that rise up really, really fast fall down really, really fast as well. it's kind of the simple story of the tortoise and the hare, right? The hare runs so quick that it just tuckers itself out and then just never even finishes the race. But the tortoise that just keeps chugging along, obviously ends up passing and then finishing the race. And I think it's really important that people understand that this project wasn't designed to get everyone's attention for a week and then die forever. It was designed to finish the race and be here forever.
Right on. I've got your Twitter pulled up, and you've got 3,175 followers now. I don't know how many people have followed you recently, but it seems like it jumped up. So that's a good thing.
Is this my personal or is this the Pulse TGC?
Pulse, the gray 369. I probably have it confused. Which one do you want me to pull up?
Oh, we can go over either. It's just this one that I'm on right now, the Pulse TGC, and then the other one's my personal. So you're on my personal right now, which is cool. We can run through it.
Okay.
I've actually spent a little bit of time writing some decent posts this week, so it might be good to go through those.
Okay.
It's a lot of it what we've been talking about already, but we can read through it anyways.
Sure. And another thing, this brings to mind a point I wanted to make, in that you have explained it to me, I think, maybe not on Spaces, but like when you launched pTGC, nobody knew TGZen. And that's one of the challenges that you've faced in adoption is, here's this obscure, founder just coming out of nowhere, in a sense. So that has been one of the challenges, I would say. And which means there's opportunity. That's what I'm trying to convey, is that there's an opportunity over here.
Yeah, sometimes you have to be listening. That's one thing that I really applaud Coach for, is he was listening to me when I was talking in the Spaces with pretty much 0 followers one day before any of this came out. And we connected, and obviously our relationship grew from there. Coach has understood the system before it even launched, which, is obviously, I think, why he's such a big advocate. Also, he's added tons of his own personal time and value to the system as well, because he's such a believer in it. But yes, 100% is, when I came into the space, I didn't have any followers. I really didn't even use Twitter. I just ended up here and realized that crypto Twitter was kind of a big place to talk about products and stuff like that. So don't feel like you've missed anything because nothing's even happened yet. My account still only has 3,000 followers, which is pretty much micro. I think a teenage girl probably has more followers than me. So
you're never going to keep up with the teenage girl. All right. The first post is from an hour ago. What does pTGC and UFO mean when we say we come for the X's and stay for the APY? Well, in summary, if you want me to read all this, I can do it.
It's up to you. You can at least read the summary. That's why I wrote it, because there's a lot there.
Okay, I'll read the summary. If you don't want to read everything, here it is. This product is designed to give holders the X's they need to increase the value they have in the system enough so the APY paid out monthly by the code will be enough to set holders financially free, having their value work for money instead of their time. Yeah, got it. All right.
And if anyone has any questions on this stuff, feel free to raise your hand and come up. That's why we're doing this, to answer questions, to go deeper into conversation if people have specific points they need to go deeper into for a full understanding.
One of the posts go ahead.
Well, let me speak about one thing. I just put a post on top, and as we were talking about liquidities and all of that regard, smart money and big money look for those qualities in projects. and they know the value of said projects. So, as everybody knows, Rackham has came back into the fold of things, and there's a post right above, or he's saying, I already own both, truly, with a winky face. So if you really think about that too, like, wealthy people hang around wealthy, other wealthy individuals, and true value and true LP will take the cake at the end of the day too. And
Who is
I
Rackham?
just want to share that. Who's Rackham?
Yes.
A very big player in the PulseChain and Hex ecosystem.
I'm trying to find him on Twitter.
Just go up to the top. His Twitter is up there. In the nest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I found him on Twitter too. He's driving a nice car. Okay.
Yeah, so thank you for putting that up there, Coach. A little bit of context to the I already own both. Pretty much I think he made a post, and then Somni commented on the post saying, hey, also take a look at some of the altcoins on PulseChain. They seem to be doing really well, and we have pretty much sub-community, something like that. And then Rackham said, I definitely will. I'll probably throw 1 to 2 million into some altcoins. And then I wrote a nice post, kind of just trying to educate him on the pTGC and UFO ecosystem. And then he responded to my post saying, I already own both, truly.
Yeah, Rackham was the largest sacrificer during the PulseChain sacrifice sets. He also currently runs about 6,000 validators on the That's about 190 billion pulse worth annually.
That's a lot of cheese. The next post is from 20 hours ago. When demand for a product is higher than supply, prices tend to go up. A lot of luxury goods operate off this idea. Watches and cars, for example, have minimal supply, so the demand remains high, making it so they can get more per product. But keep in mind that watches and cars remain inflationary. Rolex makes roughly 1 million watches per year. pTGC and UFO have these same ideas built into the code, and the interesting part is the code is constantly adjusting the demand higher and the supply lower with every transaction, with no human interaction needed. These are strategies that have worked really well in real life, and now they have been brought to PulseChain. Agreed. Classic supply and demand.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of people say, I'm waiting for a dip on pTGC and UFO. And there has been dips, but majority of the dips that we've incurred have been because of PulseChain dropping drastically, not necessarily from pTGC or UFO. Dropping drastically, obviously there can be big sells in the future. There has been big sells. They've been eaten up pretty much. But when you look at something that has lack of supply and demand, they don't really go on sale. If you look at the Rolex market, you don't ever find a sale on Rolexes because there's a line of people waiting to purchase those Rolexes at the going rate even. Obviously, the watch market has a fluctuation. There was a peak in the watch market. It's currently down a little bit. But as far as a specific sale on the product, it just doesn't come. Even on luxury cars. With these basic ideas of just luxury goods, you don't really even get sales on the product because there's a constant demand to it due to lack of supply. And I believe this same situation occurs with pTGC. It's pretty much written in the code that you don't really get huge sales due to the lack of supply and the constant demand that's written within the code. So when people are saying like, ooh, I'm waiting for a big dip, you know, a dip has a sale on the tokens. I just don't think, obviously anything's possible. If whales could, you know, take profits or sell, they're just not doing so. They haven't really done so for the last year. I don't think you're going to get the big sale that you're looking for, because that's like asking for the opportunity to buy a Lamborghini at 50% off. You know, there's a line of people willing to get it at 10% off if it pops on the market, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was having a conversation about entering one of these assets the other day, and you know, the way I enter usually is I just do it. I'm not a chartist. I'm not a technical analyst. I can kind of judge sentiment, but the sentiment around pTGC and UFO is always positive, and I'm always thinking these tokens they're moving in the upward direction, even though sometimes they might be pulling back slightly. But I've practiced this. I have not waited for entry points for pTGC and UFO. Maybe that's foolish. I know I could have a higher token count. I know that. However, I sleep better knowing if I had fiat and I was ready to move it into crypto, I just did it instead of waiting. And then it's done. I'm happy. If I need to take profits during the bull run, I can do it then. But until then, I ain't messing around, and I'm just getting in. You know, waiting for a pullback. And I know there are people that are waiting for a retracement on pTGC. They've been waiting for months. And guess what? I don't think pTGC is going back to some of the levels that they were hoping to enter at.
So let's just ask the question. If you look at the chart, how many times has pTGC had a major pullback that wasn't directly correlated to PulseChain itself pulling back? In other words, has there ever been a massive pullback on pTGC itself? Zen, maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, I don't have the chart in front of me, but I kind of know it like the back of my hand. I'd say it's probably a 30% dip that's happened against PulseChain.
Yeah, and that dip got ate in like breakneck speed.
Yeah, and obviously, like, we have had dips against the USD, but that dip is correlated to PLS dropping, which that's kind of where I always go back to. Is like, I even had a discussion with a trader recently on Twitter, because he was asking me if I think UFO and pTGC are at good trading prices, and I had to tell him, like, I'm not a trader. I don't buy it. Currently, I don't really buy anything for trading. Everything I look at is for investing long-term purposes, and the facts are that PulseChain is below stack rate, so anything connected to PulseChain with longevity and sustainability is at a huge discount, in my opinion. Even I believe stack rate is a discount for what the product of PulseChain is, and I believe people will realize this probably 6 months from now.
What's up, Ian?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Just got out the gym. It's a beautiful day. Crypto's pumping. But yeah, bro, like you were saying, it's you're not gonna, like, when PulseChain gets going, every little pump PulseChain has, like 5-10% up on PulseChain, 30% up on pTGC UFO, like 20 to 30%. Like, I wouldn't say switch your whole bag to them, but man, when Pulse gets going and more people get educated on this protocol, this thing's gonna go freaking bazonkers, bro. Like, it's gonna get crazy. Like, I've actually added to my bag as well.
Yeah, especially when you're just trading shit coins on ETH or Sol, and you're coming into just quick profits on just bullshit, you know, just meaningless stuff. You don't have to really worry about you know, it's like, okay, when you make the profits, what are you going to put it in? You're going to put it in ETH, you're going to put it in Sol, you're going to put it in Pulse. To me, pTGC and UFO are by far at the top of the list to when you're making quick swing profits, DCAing it with that money. That's house money you got free damn near. So it's a no-brainer to use those type of that type of profit to bring over the bridge and take a position.
Yeah, plus the money you're just pulling in from staking and just holding. Like, it's just your bag's just growing. And, you know, I believe when Pulse happens, it's going to be fast, it's going to be short, you know, as far as 2 to 3 months. And it's going to go crazy, man. And it's going to get very interesting because I believe pTGC and UFO, they've outperformed the entire PulseChain ecosystem. There's no argument about that. That's a fact. So when Pulse actually starts mooning, like, that's going to get very interesting, very exciting. You guys have been doing such a good job then of just adding, growing liquidity pools, like using that DAO money for like very helpful and strategic things for the longevity and the success of this project. And that's huge, especially at these lower levels. What you guys have been doing, like, people don't realize how much capital has been injected into this ecosystem, into the LP pairings, into buyback and burning these coins. So you guys really set yourself up good, man. And at these levels, like, even for someone who has a fat bag, like, I don't mind if I have some extra pulse around, I get some profit on a meme coin. Like, I don't mind just adding to my bag. And that's kind of what I've been doing. Like, just getting multiple bags on this and having a game plan long term. Because if this thing goes to multi-billions and the volume's insane, the rewards are going to be insane. It's going to be like a freaking salary. So, you know, I got a bag for that. Like a bag that I'm just going to hold and get as many rewards. Because guess what? That volume will be high on the way up, and it'll also be high on the way down. You'll just be earning, especially if people are unstaking. You get more rewards. So, I got a good game plan with pTGC and UFO, and I've been tweaking it, and I think it's completely dialed in. So if you don't have a game plan, you're trading emotional, and, you know, even the coins that you hold have a game plan, long term, short term, medium term, and now it's just a waiting game.
Yeah, Ian, I don't think you were listening earlier, or you're probably not watching on YouTube either, but Banana had up on YouTube this new stats page that we're working on, and it shows, like, the amount burned and everything like that, and pTGC currently has over $6 million of value bought and burned into the system.
Wow.
In terms, that's an investor that has obviously bought all his bags, and his current bag is worth $6 million, and he is never going to sell, ever, and can't sell. And then obviously that increases as price goes up.
See, that's the difference. When people say, oh, we burned $1 million, no, you guys bought and burned, right?
Huge difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah. That's like, literally like an investor. That's like a buyer who bought all those tokens that is literally going to sit here forever with the community and say, nope, I'm long term. I'm long term. I'm never going to sell.
It is a buyer, bro. It's the Grays. It's the aliens bag, man.
It's the freaking spaceships bags. No, but you even saw with Andrew Tate, like, he'll use that marketing. You sniped up however much percentage supply, 50%, 90%, whatever it is. Now your coin's at 200 mil market cap, and you burned 23 million. Congratulations. Not saying it's not beneficial, because, you know, when they burn it, that means they can never sell, but it doesn't benefit a project. Like, actually open buying on the market and then burning. That just creates buy pressure. That's what makes chart go up. That's how you guys have been able to paint such a beautiful chart. Richard Hart does it. Good developers on meme coins, they paint a chart. And then FOMO kicks in. And then people realize how good of a protocol it is. You educate more people. People tell other people. Then you have people shilling for their bags because their bags are worth so much. and then you basically create, you know, a top coin, a top 10 coin, top 50 coin, you know, and that's, you know, that's kind of, we've been talking about it forever, and especially Beirut, and now Murad is here talking about it, and people are taking it like it's like from the Bible, like, so it's all good. There's more people catching on to this whole cult-like community, which I would even just say a strong, dedicated community that works for their bags of multiple people shilling, making content, and it's not like you guys are over here paying KOLs and giving out supply. People have nice bags. You painted the chart. You gave people so much time. We told people to buy this coin, or that we were buying the coin. We never tell anyone to buy, not financial advice, but around 500K. And then when it had its first run, it corrected. It was around like 2 mil or 1 mil, 1.5 mil, somewhere around there. And those are very good positions. And now you're sitting at $60 million market cap, and Pulse still hasn't even moved. Pulse is lower than it was before. So now when this Pulse moves, bull market kicks in, that's a hockey stick chart. So we've been saying in our live streams, man, pTGC UFO are creating hockey stick charts. And it just gets me there, or it just gets me bullish that I just continue to buy. So I'm excited. I texted you the other day, and I said, man, I'm really, congratulations, man, because, you know, we didn't know who you were when we first talked to you. You know, you kind of came out of nowhere. You know, we put some trust in it, and we believed in it, and then you just continued to educate us, and now, you know, you've done such a good job of managing the DAO, managing the ecosystem, and now you guys are set up to win. Like, you really are. This is like life-changing games. This is like a coin once in a bull market that you're going to get the opportunity to buy into, and it's different. It's unique. It's original, and it's exciting.
You know,
Yeah.
Zen, that's 6 million, and that burn wallet, it's also indicative of about $300,000 of value given back to the system, in addition to the fact that those tokens are off the market, which averages out to around 25 G's per month that's being given back to the system. You take 6 million, you times that by 5%, that's 300 G's. Divide that by 12 months, that's 25 G's a month.
What's 5%? If you're talking about the supply we have burned, we have 11% burned. So
No, I'm talking about the value. You said it was a $6 million value that's burned,
correct.
right? Well, in order for that to be in there, it had to have been bought or sold and then sent to the burn wallet, right?
Yeah.
So maybe my numbers are wrong. I'm not thinking about that right. But if you've got $6 million of value burned in there.
Well, I look at it like right now, pTGC has a liquidity web of 4 million roughly. That's like the legitimate tokens. There's also some other pairings that are like almost liquidity dead end, so I don't like to count those. But like legitimate tokens, like RH tokens, PDI, Teddy Bear, that have legitimate liquidity tied with them also, there's like 4 million. So 10%, because 10% of the supply has been bought and burned, so 10% of that can actually never even be accessed. So that's technically $400,000 of that, right?
Correct.
So $400,000 of that liquidity, obviously it can be tapped into because people will sell before there, but it's a good metric to just look at. So $400,000 of that liquidity is kind of there from the buy and burn itself. Most of these tokens on PulseChain don't even have $400,000 of liquidity, which is the funny part.
Oh yeah, and they're sitting with billions of market cap, like 2K liquidity.
Yeah.
So my question is, what's the metric? How much has pTGC and UFO paid out in like just like reflections? And you can add all the staking just the holding. Because I haven't checked mine in like, I don't know, 3 weeks, and all of a sudden I had like a nice bag just from staking, and then I freaking claim and then restake. Like,
Yeah,
what's
I
that-
don't know
what's
the
that
exact
number?
number. I don't know the exact number, but I think currently by holding and staking, you're getting around 10% APY. So then you could just like do the math of whatever your bag size is now, and then if we can remain this 10% APY in the future due to PulseChain going up and us going up in volume, picking up on chain and volatility, etc. Like I use the example a lot because this is easy for people to understand. Is let's say you put in $10,000 and it 100x's, and now you have $1 million. Well, if you can then earn 10% off of $1 million, you're now earning $100K a year in passive income that is off of a $10,000 investment, right? So you're making $100K a year off of what you put $10,000 into. There's just nothing like that. And the interesting part about it is that $100,000 that you're getting paid out isn't from something that doesn't have backing. The only way you get paid out that $100,000 is by a buy on the chart. The only way you receive that value in your wallet is by an RBot or a human purchasing those tokens and sending them to you. So it's not even like you're ending up with those due to no value coming into the system. The only way you end up with those is by value coming into the system. And then on top of that, even with that value added into the system that landed in your wallet, there's also more value that's going to LP ads and buy inverts to also back that APY. So every time an APY is paid out, every time like you land rewards in your system, those rewards aren't even backed with the initial purchase of those tokens that landed them in your wallet, but also backed by more LP and buy inverts to make it to where even in the future, if you sold every single one of your staking rewards or reflections, you can actually never hurt the chart to an extent. So what does that do? That incentivizes you to keep holding your initial tokens, because if you and other large players or players in the ecosystem are operating off the same mechanic, that you guys can actually have a decent salary, if that's what you want to call it, while supporting the thing that's supporting you financially, giving you the financial freedom to do whatever you want on a daily basis. If that's, teaching young people jiu-jitsu, or if it's, educating people on the Lord, it's really anything. But what it's doing is making it to where you don't need to trade your time for money anymore, and your value is actually working for that money. So now your time can be spent doing whatever you want with your day. And hence the reason why we're all here.
That's awesome. I just wonder what that number is, because I'm sure it's a lot.
Well, what's interesting, you obviously got in really early. You just talked about how you educated your community on this protocol at a 500K market cap, and then you kind of educated them on it at a 1 mil. So it pumped up, and then it came all the way down to 1 mil. And then I think you guys even said hey, this is the dip. This is
Shaka, hot mic.
Hey, Shaka.
Just mute everyone. You're good. You can talk.
Yeah. Gosh, what was I saying?
You were saying we got our community
you got in
early. Yeah.
So what's interesting about what you were earning really early is, since the tokens were worth less, let's say when you got in at a 500K market cap, those first weeks, if it was around there, or even just under a mil, everything that you were earning there is now up 60x to 120x. So every reflection you were earning at those lower levels are doing those X's also. So then you can really think okay, well, if I earn $5 a day in reflections and staking rewards at that time, that technically means today I earn $500 a day.
It's phenomenal. because you 100x'd it.
Yeah, and same like if you earn now and then it does another 10x, 100x, you're crushing it.
Exactly. And that value is actually backed by the system.
See, the funny part. Go ahead.
Which gives obviously people who are long-term holders the confidence in the system, right? That there isn't unethical APY getting thrown out there to just anyone. The APY is ethical, and it's paying out to the people supporting the price of the protocol, which gives it the sustainability it needs. Like, if you run a meme coin up 100x, what is the reason you stay? Like, at a certain point, you say, well, I need to pay myself, or I want to pay myself, and the only thing you can do to get paid is sell that chart down. And once you start selling that chart down, you keep selling it down because now you're hurting the rest of your bag, and it becomes a race, right? This is, in my opinion, one of the flaws in like tokens like this is, but with this system is you can actually support the protocol by keeping your whole initial purchase, and the protocol will pay you to stay in the system, and then you can take those profits as needed while never actually hurting the system itself, because you're holding up the price of all your initial purchases, which then holds the whole entire ecosystem up, which then gives security to new people coming in, and then also, as that liquidity web remains high, that keeps more value working for everyone. So like, as our liquidity web grows, let's say PulseChain 10x's from here, we currently have 10 million in liquidity, well then we would have 100 million. Well, that would be $100 million of value working for this community, for these holders, for the value of the token. It's not just money under the mattress, like every other token, where you're just holding, but that holding is just like stuffing money out under the mattress. That money is actually not working for you. You want your money working for you, because then you never need to tap into that mattress money. You know what I mean? If that mattress money is earning you actual money, you never even need to touch the initial. You only need to touch the APY that you're making off of it to live your day-to-day life.
Yep. That's why I got a bag for that. And I'll be honest, man, at the beginning, I didn't even stake, because I'm like, what? I got to connect my wallet to a website? I'm like, nah. But when you learn about this protocol, because I mean, back then, everyone was getting burned trying to connect your wallet to a staking protocol. But then you realize the coins don't leave your wallet. You can unstake at any time if you do like the short-term one. And, you know, and obviously you guys have continued to build more confidence in the community, and it's just like, this is a no-brainer. So, like, I that's why I think that it's growing, and that's why I think it's good you guys continue to do these spaces, because the more you learn about this project, the more it's a no-brainer.
Ian, I got a question for you, man.
What's up?
You and Virus, you run the show tank. You talk to tons of people. You're on all the chains, man. Let's be real. What have you seen on any other blockchain that even comes close to comparing to what this system's doing right now?
Not even close, though. All I'm seeing is meme coins that are run by cabals, and then CTO meme coins that also sometimes are run by cabal. And it's funny because even like my other crypto friends that are like not even really connected to me on crypto Twitter, but they invest in crypto, they're like, man, Solana's such good DeFi. Like, have you seen Jupiter? Like, it's like there's limit orders and all of these. You can do perpetuals. And bro, I finally red pilled him, and I'm like, and he's just mind blown how decentralized PulseChain is. And then I red pilled him on pTGC in the ecosystem. I'm like, dude, passive income, like the system is made so perfect. So there's nothing even close, man. We're kind of in this deep point thing, and that's why I think pTGC done it so well, because it is a meme with utility, with very strong utility, like the utility that you want, that makes price go up, like that makes price be sustainable, that pays you passive income. So I'll be honest, honest, man. Like, I was not even fully convinced or educated. I was just like, oh, it's an alien meme. You know, oh, there's some DeFi, this and that. You know, but the more you really do learn about it, the more bullish. And you can ask Zen. He knows I added to my bag recently, like a nice chunk, because even at these levels, you're still so early because of the potential. And there's so much trash out there, JPEG pictures, and nothing wrong with memes. Memes are a culture movement. Memes can make you a lot of money, but memes are getting overplayed. Memes are getting freaking so used for like scams and just like they pump it up, supply control. Then you got to trust the devs. And it's funny because now devs want to do what Richard Hart was doing with Hex. Well, Richard Hart's proven. He's done a 10,000x. He's trusted in his community. Now he's doing it with PulseChain. Now people are opening their eyes. That was always the biggest complaint with people. Well, Richard Hart owns 90% of supply, so it's not even a decentralized. And it's like, yeah, but he knows how to play the game. That's why it's going to pump to the freaking moon. And that's why your meme coins that are pumping to the moon right now, all of them that are in the billions of dollars of market cap, with the exception of maybe a couple, are all supply controlled. 99%, 95%, 90% of supply is controlled by the dev. So there is very limited supply. So when people buy, it creates a massive pump because it hits supply shock. That's what we're going to see with PulseChain. That's what was done with Hex in a little different way, more of like manipulating the LP. But, you know, I don't know, man. And maybe this isn't the right show. I would be interested. You guys, have you been following these decentralized me? Like, have you been watching videos?
Everybody has on PDI.
Yeah.
Everybody has.
I wonder what Zen thinks on that.
I watched all his videos.
Okay. What do you think? What do you, like, honestly, like
I don't think PDI will go to $1 overnight. Personally, I think that if it does get collateralized at $1, I think it will be done more naturally with the X multiplier theory, to where PulseChain will rise, PDI will rise, and naturally it will kind of go there. And then when it gets there, it could get collateralized near the top with the natural push out of people. If it gets pegged there overnight, I think too many people will cash out and, you know, obviously just leave the system altogether. But I do think it would happen fairly quick. But I do believe they've found tons and tons of interesting data, and I obviously believe it. Look at our PDI pair with pTGC and UFO, right? So I'm a believer. I do think it's going to happen a little bit differently. I think they have most of the clues put together. Like, they have all the clues. They're just trying to connect them. And maybe they're right and I'm wrong, but maybe neither of us are right. Who really knows? We're kind of connecting the clues together. The interesting thing that I really like about either direction it goes is pTGC and UFO win so hard. Like, in the journey of PDI going to $1, that's like a 300x from here, 250x. If you 300x our liquidity pool with PDI just with UFO, that's $300 million of liquidity. And the amount of arbitrage that would happen in this process is absolutely insane. Like, the amount of movement of everything in that journey, and then once it gets there for the rest of its life, would be one of the biggest generating systems that I could ever imagine, honestly, on crypto. Like, our ecosystem would win so hard it would not even be fair or funny, and no one could even compete with it or try to mimic it for pretty much ever, because of where we've locked ourselves in with PDI and our inch tickers at the bottom. Another interesting thing about it is, once we do a 300x, if PDI goes to $1, the cool thing is PDI would then stabilize, making it to where now we have a $300 million liquidity pool with the stable coin going into the bear market. So we would hedge ourselves against the downtrend of the rest of the market for a whole next 3 years. Obviously, this wouldn't stop the downtrend, but it would hedge us against it. So then if we hedge ourselves against the $300 million, let's say PLS drops. Well, then the UFO price between PDI, the stablecoin, and PLS, the token that's now downtrending because of the bear market, it would price the UFO differently, and then arbitrage bots would have to fix it. So now there would be like one of the biggest arbitrage opportunities constantly with our web because of the stabilization of PDI at $1, making it so we gain even more value than we could ever imagine, because they'd be just constantly fixing of UFO pricing. So if PDI's narrative is any bit true, it becomes just one of the biggest win stories for pTGC and UFO. If the PDI narrative isn't true, pTGC and UFO, in my opinion, still have the tokenomics and the mechanics to win so heavily here on PulseChain. So it's like a win-win, right? If they're right, we win super, super hard beyond ever anyone's imagination can even fathom. If it isn't true, we still have the mechanics, the LP, and the systems put in place to also win very, very hard.
I don't think, Ian, that, and I was telling me this the other day, I don't think, you're going to see RH come out and do a vote from the maker system and publicly, do a vote or anything like that. I don't see that it happening that way. But yeah.
No, I don't believe everything on that. It's cool to see some different theories and it could happen. I mean, he could vote, but like you said, it's not, the chance is probably not. And the way he's giving out clues, he's probably a couple steps ahead. But like you said, man, PDI goes to $1. And going back to your original question, Mando, no, I have not seen other things on other chains like pTGC, like even PDI. There's very exciting things happening on this chain. Now, a lot of people have no idea because in order to get them to look, we need Greek candles. And that's coming. That's coming for RH stickers. That's coming for RH coming back and streaming. He's going to have a lot of interesting topics to cover with crypto media and whoever is willing to put them on their show. That's going to be exciting. Beers put it out the other day. Richard Hart is the Donald Trump of crypto. You either hate him or you love him. But the one thing you can't do is stop watching him when he is out and about talking on interviews. You will watch. And just like we saw with Trump, he has money, he has influence, he has connections, and he is going to push with all his might and all the power that he has to win because he has an ego and a winning mindset mentality like Trump. Trump could have gave up when on the 2020, could have said, I'm good, I'm going to just enjoy my life, but he had that drive and that ego to say, no, I'm going to win. And he won. And I think Richard Hart is just going to win like Trump did. So as far as taking over the entire crypto market, making everybody's jaw drop and everybody looking and blowing us up. How do we get in PulseChain? How do we get in PulseChain? That time is coming. I really believe it.
Everything is setting up pretty beautifully right now.
And it was cool. I red pilled my buddy, man. It took me 3 months just planting seeds about PulseChain. He's all about Solana and DeFi and all of this stuff. And
how can you even have DeFi and Solana in the same?
Bro, I said there is no DeFi in Solana. Nobody will build anything on Solana because it is freaking centralized to the wazoo. People can press a button, they can stop the chain. This chain can be hacked. It's ridiculous how. And he's like, well, I know, but Jupiter's cool because you can do perpetuals and limit orders and this and that. I'm like, we're gonna have all that on PulseChain, man. Plus more than you can imagine. You want to liquidity provide, you want to yield farm, you want to. The one thing PulseX doesn't have is but Bullseye has. It doesn't have stop loss and what am I trying to say? It doesn't have the stop loss and limit orders. That's what I'm trying to say. So, but it took me months and months, bro. And finally, he's like, dude, Richard Hart has a cult-like community. I've been looking. I'm like, yep. He's like, dude, it's so like fast and cheap. Because he bridged over. He's like, wow. He's like, that was like a penny. And I'm like, I know. And then he's like, checked out pTGC. He's like, whoa, this protocol is insane. Like, and like talking about the staking and all, and like residual income. And I'm like, I know, dude. He was so excited, and I'm just like, wow, this is what the rest of crypto is about to see and understand. And
the things that Richard taught his community how to build real DeFi, done products that are audited and safe and unruggable, and actually deliver real value to holders that hold the thing long term. You know, the chain is, when this whole thing pans out, the only thing holding back the floodgates, man, is the ending of this SEC case. Once that is over with, and Richard vindicates himself, there are shit tons of people that are going to come and build on this chain, and talking about limit orders is just going to be it's just going to be laughable.
yeah, it's gonna be a joke.
Yeah.
It's already getting made with Bullseye Telegram bot.
And I mean, think about it, Ian. Like, what's a limit order? It's like, I'm so lazy, I don't want to be there to sell when I want to sell, man. Like, come on, man, really?
Well, for traders, people like it because, like, retail likes it. That type of people, because they got their Telegram bot, they hit buy. If it does a 3x, it takes 50% out of it. It goes down 50%, it sells it off, and then they just rock it. And then retail likes it. But for us holders, for people who do this for real, we don't really need that. And especially if we're buying stuff we truly believe in it. And people don't realize things on PulseChain don't just dump and die if they're actually legit. Like, they don't. And for me, it doesn't seem far-fetched or out of reality at all for Richard Hart to not mention pTGC. Why would he not? His mind is probably like, whoa, look at this. This is a legit protocol. He mentioned Power City. He mentioned Bucks. He mentioned freaking Liquid Loans. How are those guys doing? How's their chart?
And Icosa.
How's their liquidity? Yeah, so it's like I could totally see him, especially with.
But guess what? It doesn't even matter, because
No,
the way that pTGC and UFO are built, when they shill RH tickers, they are indirectly and directly shilling pTGC and UFO,
Yeah.
and they're forced to pump the shit out of it all.
You want to pump X? All right, you're pumping pTGC UFO. You want to pump PulseX? All right, we're pumping P. So I just had a phone call. They're all pumping pTGC. It's all coming home. And if we look at the chart, it would have been better for all of us in here, every single person in PulseChain, to buy pTGC than any other coin in the ecosystem, including PulseChain. Just by the charts. Now, I'm not saying sell all your bag, get it, because I believe in diversifying, but according to the chart, and it's a fact. Look at pTGC against PulseChain. Look at UFO against PulseChain. If you would have just held pTGC from the beginning, you would be crushing it more than any other coin in the ecosystem.
Oh, it's done down there almost 1,000x against PulseChain, man. If you like PulseChain, you probably should have been holding pTGC.
Imagine if you, instead of sacrificing, you put all your money in pTGC at the beginning. You know how much PulseChain you would have?
Yeah, it's and to think PulseChain is still, well below average sack rate.
It's crazy, dude. I'm looking at it every day. I'm like, all right. I'm like, When Richard Hart says he's shaking out the weekends, bro, he really tested. You gotta really believe. You gotta just quit looking at the chart because it's coming. But man, I feel like Mando, since you guys sacrificed, since I didn't sacrifice, but even since I bought day one, it's just like it's been a freaking storm, man. But it's like those.
Oh man, I still remember when we were in Vegas, man, and you're like, "B, just show me." You remember that shit?
I bought an allocation, which I got totally hosed on a 10x, but it's all good. It's all good because you didn't know, right? And PulseChain, when it came out, it could have exploded. It'd probably be a lot higher if it wasn't for the SEC case.
Oh, absolutely.
And how confident? Do you see Gary Gensler's getting investigated? Do you see that they're getting ready to fire him? Do you see that one of the senators, I forgot her name, she wants to make Bitcoin a strategic reserve, and she wants to cut down and get rid of all the frivolous crypto cases? Did you know 98% of all crypto SEC lawsuits end in a settlement? Like, bro, it's dropped, most likely, settled, worst case scenario, and at the end of the day, guess what? It doesn't even matter. Look at XRP. XRP had a run when it got sued. Look at Solana. Solana was being sued the whole time. It had its run. But it will make things a lot easier and give people credibility. Because like my buddy who I red pilled, all I heard from everyone in crypto is Richard Hart's a scammer. I said, yeah. CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, they don't even list the coins. They don't even freaking rank them.
That's true, dude. That's if you think about it, man. For everybody listening, that is a massive advantage, and people don't know it. It's for the people who are on chain now, for the large masses to be getting the message that RH is a scammer, and because of that, you're able to pick this stuff up on, fire sale prices right now. And then be able to pick up stuff like pTGC. It's just phenomenal.
In the words of Donald Trump, and I do have to get off in a minute, but too big to rig. It will be too big for them to hide it, for them to shadow ban it, for them to gatekeep it. It will be so big, so talked about. Richard Hart will be out there wrecking pools left and right, going on the biggest crypto shows, markets pumping, and CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko. Before the masses learn, we're already going to be so in profit, and then they're going to buy. I wouldn't even say the top, but they're going to buy and continue to pump the bags. So, I agree.
Hey, real quick before you go, Ian, I wanted to tap into something you said about the importance of diversifying. If you can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure you know this, but I just wanted to say this for everyone listening, that something unique about pTGC and UFO that a lot of people don't realize is that it's got diversification built into it. Due to the liquidity web being paired with all the RH tickers and the blue chips on Pulse, including PDI and Teddy Bear, by just holding pTGC and UFO, you're actually holding all these tokens, and the percentage gain and loss on a 24-hour basis is a mean of all those tokens. So by mean, I mean an average. So if you take the average of what all those tokens do on a daily basis and their size of liquidity we have with it, the price of pTGC directly reflects it. So when you hold pTGC, you actually get the gains and losses of everything we're connected to, obviously plus the buys on our chart. So we get what they're doing plus what people buy on our chart is an addition to that. But something also unique is the value we gain is the difference between the tokens we're connected to. So as they shift against each other, if PDI goes on a run and PLS sits, and PLS goes on a run and PDI dips, these shifts between the two, we obviously have a fee for these shifting, and we bring that value back to the singular token. That's obviously our main utility that drives this price up. But I just wanted to point out that by just holding pTGC and UFO, you are diversified on pretty much all of the blue chips of PulseChain, which alone, like if you take away every mechanic that we have working for us, that is a unique product market fit alone. for our ecosystem.
Yeah, it's literally like holding an index, man, of all the best tickers on PulseChain.
Like, if you take away everything that we've had built, just that utility alone is unique. But we have like 10 things on top of that. That's like the least impressive one. But other people would try to run to the, you know, run home with that idea and say that's like the coolest feature ever. But really, that's just like, just another addition to our system.
Yeah, no, it is true, man. So you're telling everyone just get rid of everything and buy PTGC. I'm just kidding. But
Just slam it all in there. Slam it all in there.
man. Sell your house. Never
Yeah, definitely not
financial
saying that, but I'm saying it does have the diversification built into it. And because it's got the diversification built into it, when your value is actually sitting in the system, that value is actually working for you. Where if you sit in the things that we are connected to but are not, that value is actually not working for you because it doesn't have the same systems in play. So if you're going to sit in those, you know, kind of weigh out to yourself, like, okay, like, is my value actually working for me while I sit through this bear or bull market or just sit here forever? Or is it just money under a mattress? Because the goal is, if you have this value here, you want that value to make you more money, and you want that value to make your product worth more, right? So just kind of run those ideas through your head. You're getting the diversification, your value is actually working for you, you're getting the APY, you're getting the value of the token that you're in getting pushed in an upwards direction due to supply and demand. There's all these features working in your favor when you're in this system.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'll say one thing. The PTGC army they were a little quiet. Like, you had a lot of holders, probably a bunch of, like, maybe hex people that didn't want to show it. But I'm seeing the community start to raid more. I'm seeing them start to make more content. And just remember that we are in an attention economy. So no matter how good a protocol could be, no matter how good the DeFi is, no matter how good everything can be about it, we need eyes and new eyes. So just continue, if you guys are in the community, continue to retweet, continue to push content out. Like, work for your bags, man. Like, this could be your life-changing game. This could be the one for you to set you up financially forever. So work for your bags, raise, retweet, like, make content, be in the TG. Like, it's just important that continue to grow in that area. But other than that, man, I'm going to keep packing my bags, and I'm ready for takeoff.
Yeah, real quick, Ian, before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for, you know, what you and Beavers do. You guys have been a big educational platform and, you know, obviously a large part in the success of pTGC and UFO. So I just wanted to say thanks for doing that part, and we appreciate it. Because, you know, like you said, the tokenomics and DeFi and protocol could be absolutely amazing, and they do function on their own without human interaction, but the human interaction amplifies it greatly, and you guys have definitely put a lot of eyeballs on it and helped get more eyeballs on it, right? And, you know, with the onboarding, you guys are constantly onboarding with your platform, and we just really appreciate it. So I wanted to say thank you.
Absolutely, guys. Appreciate all you guys up here. Give everyone a follow. Mando, Coach, freaking Zen, Shaka, Ferrari, everyone. Give everyone a follow up here. That's how we grow. We grow together. See you guys. Have a good weekend. God bless.
Take care, Ian. Talk to you later, brother.
Is there anything, I guess, in that conversation that came up that you guys want to tap into at all?
I think a good little side note for sharing would be is, you know, if you don't feel qualified to share an ecosystem like this, that's okay, right? But it shouldn't remove your desire to share it. And there's a really simple little corporate kind of sales tidbit I'd like to put out there. It's called the peak and pass. So what you do is when you've got something amazing and you're not really qualified yet to speak on it, that doesn't mean you're not qualified to pique someone's interest on it, right? So what you do is you pique the interest and then you pass them to the qualified individuals to share it with them. And in that way, you're greatly speeding up the process at which you're sharing people with that about that product or that service or whatever. Well, there's obviously a ton of people that are qualified to talk about this ecosystem, from PulseChain all the way down to the pTGC ecosystem. And all that you have to do is be willing to pique somebody's interest. That's all you have to do. Pique the interest and then pass them to Zen, myself, Coach, the TG, the amazing videos, get on the spaces like this, have people come in live and ask their questions, spark the conversations. Peek and pass is a very simple way to be able to share with everybody without the weight of feeling like if you don't feel equipped yet to completely get the job done. There's a lot of people out there that you probably know that don't own pTGC. They probably should. That would probably, if they're in this bull run, they might benefit from it. So if you don't feel equipped, just make the peak. Just pique that interest, and then get them in front of the people that can talk to them professionally about it.
Yeah, I would say even the simplest way to do that would be just if you're talking about pTGC at the bottom of whatever you're posting, is just put the TG down there. Because whenever people hop into the TG, there is a group of people pretty much ready to answer any questions that come up and for people that come in.
Yeah, I think right now is a perfect time in the market to really kind of just go down that list of people that you might just pique their interest and get them into the TG. Just pique their interest. You don't got to sell them. You don't got to talk to them about the code. You don't got to talk to them. Just pique their interest, get them in the TG, and get them on this basis. I think it's a real simple way to onboard a ton of people in the next 60 to 90 days.
Yeah, and this doesn't even just go for pTGC and UFO. This can go for, PulseChain in general, in RH tickers in general. There's tons of people out there that aren't even on PulseChain yet. And as the community of PulseChain, pTGC and UFO are built on PulseChain, we also can be piquing people's interest on PulseChain in general. Right?
I think the PulseChain army needs to get a lot more vocal about the fact of pushing back in the industry that, Richard is obviously not a scammer. I think the PulseChain community at large needs to really start, just like they got very loud for Donald Trump. It's not right that the guy has had to endure such bullshit for so long when it's just flat out not true.
Yeah, well, it's because he points out scammers. So if you're a scammer and you get pointed out as a scammer, the easiest thing to do is point back and say, no, he's the scammer. I'm doing right by you. So since RH doesn't just hide, he actually calls people out as scammers when he sees them, it does kind of relate in a little bit of backlash that is undeserved, right? And that's, in my opinion, a lot of the reason why he's gotten that, because he's pointing out people in this industry that are very large that and maybe the word isn't scamming, but they're promoting unethical things that are designed just to take people's money. And in terms, they come backlash back and just point the finger back at him and all his products as the scams themselves, when in turn, it's actually the opposite. And they're going to know soon. PulseChain's out, all his products are out, all his products are running flawlessly. His attorneys and him are doing very, very well in the case. I think there's going to be a wave coming in the next few months. And RH has been known to be right on pretty much everything he's talked about. So, You know, I think I would be surprised if he was wrong in this instance, but obviously we built here on PulseChain because we believe in him, and I'm very, very excited for the next few months. Coach, Banana, Shaka, if anyone has anything to add, I'm happy to go over it. If not, we'll probably be shutting down the space soon.
Well, you got to go play some pickleball, so.
It's my pickleball day. I'm already running late.
I'm ready. I'm ready. It's been a good space.
Yeah, it looks like Mando already dropped out, so I just want to say thank you to Mando. Coach, thank you for coming up. Banana, thanks for hosting this with me. Shaka, thank you for giving that tidbit about liquidity and the importance of it. I appreciate that. Everyone that came to listen, I appreciate you guys coming to listen and being here in the space. If it's to learn, if it's to support, it just means a lot to us. And I think in the next few months, everything's going to get very, very interesting. It should be an awesome ride here together. So next time, if you do want to come up, feel free to come up, ask questions, add to the conversation, whatever you want. If you don't feel comfortable with that, I appreciate you just being here listening as well. So thank you all.
Thank you, Zen. Thank you
Yep.
for hosting. We'll see you
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
See you guys Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. There we go. That's it. Thank you guys for showing up on YouTube. That's cool. Oh, I was going to say, subscribe to my channel. I'm like almost to 1,000. Almost to 1,000. I need Twitter followers too. So if you follow me on Twitter, Prairie Banana or the Prairie Banana. Thank you, bananas. I wish more people would bring these spaces over to YouTube. Yeah, it's important. It really is. All right, guys. Hey, Paul, let's talk about the audio issue. I'd appreciate your help on that. So just reach out. I think maybe you already did. All right, guys, have a great weekend.